I've always talked about the Maldives. I've always wanted to go to the Maldives because of the Sea of Stars. I know Azahara will say that there's places in Puerto Rico that has it. But like the Maldives I've always thought was incredibly beautiful. And then I learned that the Maldives has the highest per capita export of ISIS fighters of any country in the world. So I was like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't go there. But 5 dead in a 160-foot Maldives scuba dive. Worst diving accident the nation has ever seen. 5 Italian tourists died on a daring deep-water scuba dive into an underwater cave in the Maldives, sparking a police investigation into the tragedy, authorities said Thursday. You see, I would love to learn how to scuba dive. Cave diving is absolutely terrifying. Because it's like, you don't know what's fucking down there, bro. Not even as far as, like, little critters go, but, like, you could end up somewhere with lack of air. You could end up stuck somewhere. You could end up in, like, a cave-in area. Like, you don't know. That shit is so fucking scary. That shit is so fucking scary. Monica Maltefalcone, a marine biology professor at the University of Genoa, and her 20-year-old daughter, Georgia Somacal, were 160 feet deep in the waters of Vavu Atoll, when they vanished Thursday, Italy's foreign ministry said. 3 other adventure seekers on the trip, Muriel Odenino of Turin, Gianluca Benedetti of Padua, and Federico Gualtieri of Borgomanero, I'm trying so fucking hard, Italy, also failed to resurface from the dive, according to the UK Sun. Rescue crews rushed to the scuba hotspot near the island of Alimatha around 1:45 p.m. and frantically searched the mouthwash blue stretch of the Indian Ocean. Why would you describe it like that in this article? Before discovering one of their bodies, officials said. The divers had boarded the Duke of York yacht Thursday morning before taking the plunge at one of the country's most popular diving spots. Local media outlet The Edition reported. I read Duke of York and I immediately think of the Azure Lane ship. It wasn't immediately known what led to their deaths. Weather in the area was rough Thursday with strong winds up to 30 miles per hour, though it wasn't clear if those conditions played a role. Now, I don't know anything about diving, but I feel like when you're diving, you're underwater, and when you're cave diving, you're in a cave underwater. So I don't know how much wind would affect that, actually. A wind can create strong currents. You're a diver. Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that wind could affect, like, deep underwater currents. That's pretty cool. I'm genuinely, like, asking, because I don't know about diving. A wind causes currents in underwater caves on the coast can catch the force of currents. Ooh. You want to know if they had an actual dive plan that included the cave, or if they just winged their whole dive? If they winged that dive, that's scary. What the heck? That's a shame. That's a pretty lady. And her name was Muriel? She's like the first pretty lady to be named Muriel in a million years. That's crazy. That's a cute guy. Don't say it, chat. Local cops have launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the underwater disaster, but their causes of death haven't been revealed. The tragedy is likely the single worst diving incident the nation has ever seen, local officials say. For the depth alone, at 160 feet, they should have been breathing mixed gases to prevent nitrogen narcosis. Also at that depth, the pressure compresses wetsuits and buoyancy is lost. The buoyancy compensator is not able to be filled up with enough air to float you if you're untrained in these matters, and you start a slow drop to the depths unable to ascend. You have to be well-trained advanced diver. Then add in the cave diving aspect, which triples the difficulty and danger. Multiple tanks are required for decompression, and it's a lot of planning and coordination to get the staging correct, let alone navigate a cave system. It is not something tourist divers should attempt. I mean, we don't know if they're tourist divers or if they're actually, like, trained divers, but I appreciate this guy for, like, saying, because I have no idea what nitrogen narcosis even is. You need to breathe mixed gases to prevent nitrogen narcosis? What does that even mean? Yeah, nitrogen narcosis is how you get drunk on the nitrogen in your own blood and hallucinate and probably die if you don't have a buddy. Holy shit. Your blood becomes fizzy like a soda? Damn, nature, you scary. Cars for Kids has been banned from advertising in California as it has been deemed deceptive by a judge for helping exclusively Orthodox Jewish kids in the New York and New Jersey areas, despite having 8-year-old actors of all races singing their jingles. This serves as the court's ruling and final statement of decision. Parties objecting under California rules of court should be familiar with the authorities that describe the limited purpose of objections. The main purpose of an objection to a proposed statement of decisions is not to re-argue the merits, but to bring the court's attention inconsistencies between the court's ruling and the document it's supposed to embody, and explain that ruling, blah, 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 blah. Business and Professions Code, Cause of Actions, establish. Section 17,500 prohibits any person, corporation, or employee thereof with the intent to sell, lease, or provide services from making or disseminating any statement that is untrue or misleading about such property or services. Liability arises if the statement is known or should be reasonably known to be untrue or misleading. To establish a violation, the plaintiff must show the statements in the advertisement were untrue or misleading, and the defendant knew or should have known through reasonable care that the statements were untrue or misleading. Section 17,200 defines unfair competition to include any lawful, unfair, or fraudulent business act or practice and unfair, deceptive, untrue, or misleading advertising. Unlawful acts are any practices forbidden by law, whether civil or criminal, statutory, regulatory, or court-made. Blah, 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 blah. Plaintiff provided credible testimony regarding the circumstances of the donation. The subject vehicle, a 2001 Volvo XC, had been left at the plaintiff's residence by a third party, a young woman, who had stayed with them. The vehicle was non-operational, and the plaintiff did not possess legal title to it. Although the vehicle was not in his name, it had been left by a third party for months, and was non-operational, the plaintiff exercised a possessory interest and control over the property. Although the plaintiff originally intended to repair the vehicle, he never did so. Facing a pending social event at his home, the plaintiff's wife requested that the vehicle be removed from the property. The plaintiff testified that he was subjected to the Cars for Kids radio jingle repeatedly, quoted over and over. The jingle that was played in court several times was the TV version. It features several children aged 8 to 10 playing various musical instruments, with the jingle repeated at least 4 times. The short and repetitive ad has the following lyrics: 1877 Cars for Kids, KARS Cars for Kids, 1877 Cars for Kids, donate your car today. I can't do a deep-voiced white cowboy. Plaintiff testified that as a charitable person, he relied on the advertisement's auditory message to conclude that the organization benefited underprivileged kids from all over the United States, and specifically kids in California, given that he was donating the vehicle in California. Plaintiff donated a 2001 Volvo XC, which is valued at $250. He testified that he felt taken advantage of upon discovering, only after the donation, that the funds did not stay in California but supported a specific religious mission in the Northeast. I don't know when Cars for Kids started up, because I don't remember when I started hearing it when I was younger, but I'm wondering if there's any coincidement with the Cars for Kids scam charity and the Cash for Clunkers thing that made clunker cars incredibly unaffordable for the majority of American youth. The court finds that plaintiff credibly testified that the plaintiff believed the charity benefited underprivileged kids from all over the U.S. and expected that a donation made in California would benefit children in California, that the advertisement contained nothing about specific religious affiliation, and gave no indication that the benefits would be limited by geography, religion, or ethnicity, that he followed the ad's directive to call the 877 phone number, that he never visited the organization's website stating, "I'm not a computer person," an omputer person, by the way, and that only after the donation did the plaintiff learn from a neighbor that the funds were directed to a Jewish organization in New York. This neighbor's probably a fucking old-ass shit poster-based neighbor. The plaintiff testified, "That's not what I wanted. I feel taken advantage of by the ad and the information that was not there." I also want to point out that pretty much anyone, so again, based neighbor, pretty much anyone trying to talk about how this charity organization actually operates just makes you sound like an insane schizo, right? Like, if this wasn't put down in text, it would sound like something anti-Semitic to an nth degree, as it were. Like, it sounds probably like the guy who said, "There's Jews running around in tunnels under New York City. I can hear the Jews in the night under my home." You know, he probably sounded crazy until we started getting videos of Jews coming out of tunnels in New York City. Oh my God. The defendant's case included the testimony of Cars for Kids Chief Operating Officer Esti Landau's strikingly candid testimony. She admitted that the 30-second advertisement, which had been running for 2 decades, does not say anything about the charity's specific nature. She confirmed that Cars for Kids is a Jewish organization, yet the word Jewish is absent from the ad. The primary function of Cars for Kids is to fund URA, an organization dedicated to Jewish heritage and summer camps in New York and New Jersey. That while 25% of revenue is derived from California, Cars for Kids has no functional programs in California beyond a backpack giveaway characterized as a branding exercise. Over 60% of the funds of Cars for Kids go to URA, approximately 30% is spent on further advertising, and another 6% on administrative expenses. That the website states, because kids are our future, learn how you can make a difference in the life of a child as a central element of the Cars for Kids advertising campaign, but it is not found in the 30-second jingle. The witness, Esti Landau, testified that she has been with the organization since 2005 and is based in New Jersey, and has testified as a corporate representative in prior proceedings. That Cars for Kids is a national Jewish nonprofit that serves as a primary funding vehicle for URA, and that approximately $45 million is sent annually to URA, representing over 60% of Cars for Kids' total funds. Another 30% is spent on in-house advertising and 6% for administrative costs, and that of the 120,000 vehicles donated nationwide, approximately 30,000 or 25% originate from California. This is just insane to read. Like, it's so goofy. It's so goofy. And she's like, yeah, we've been doing this. No, we don't plan on changing anything. What are you gonna do about it? Oh my God. Many exhibits were admitted, including IRS Form 990s from several years to show where the funds go once they are transferred to URA. Ms. Landau confirmed that in 2022, among other expenditures, URA allocated $437,000 to Middle East outreach, and URA transferred $16,500,000 to North Africa and the Middle East, and that URA maintains $199 million in set-aside assets, with $34 million in remaining liquid assets. That $16.5 million was spent to purchase a building in Israel, stating the organization intended to grow the Israel program. Ms. Landau explicitly testified that the organization's primary purpose is not to help economically disadvantaged children. She testified that URA's programs include matchmaking for young adults and gap year trips to Israel for 17 and 18-year-olds, averaging 250 participants per year. So they're basically lying. It's not Cars for Kids, it's Cars for funding Jewish youth lifestyles. That's crazy. That's insane. She also admitted that Cars for Kids operates no functional programs in California. Their local activity is limited to small grants consisting of approximately 1,000 backpacks bearing the corporate logo, distributed to any child regardless of financial need. Ah, yes. We will take your car and we will fund matchmaking services for Jews and Jewish holiday trips for Jewish youth. But those California disadvantaged kids, get some backpacks with our branding so we can get more cars. That's fucking crazy, bro. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Our greatest ally, everyone. She also testified that Cars for Kids is not involved in how the money is spent once transferred, and those decisions are left entirely to URA. The witness admitted that the word Jewish does not appear anywhere in the advertisement. She confirmed the organization's purpose is to help Jewish kids and families throughout their lives. I literally said that this was to fund Jew kid lifestyles as like a tongue-in-cheek joke, and then she just literally says it. How am I supposed to satirize these people if they are already literal clowns? Yet this is never communicated to the public in the broadcast. Ms. Landau testified multiple times that the advertisement does not mention anything and contains no details about what Cars for Kids does. She stated that while the ad features children aged 8 to 10, she confirms the funded programs often target young adults 17 to 18 and matchmaking as well as Jewish families. She stated that for any substantive information regarding the charity's mission, a donor would have to go to the website. Literally preying on those who want to do something nice for poor kids. That's crazy. The less you knew about what the Jews did, the less jokes you had to tell. I want to be able to make comedy. You're our clown, Kirsche. Yay. Two expert witnesses testified. Dr. Motley testified in plaintiff's case in chief, and Miss Sarah Butler testified for the defense. Dr. Motley opined that the defendant's advertisements were misleading due to the deception by omission. Dr. Motley's thesis rested on the following points. 1, he asserted that if the funds generated by Cars for Kids are primarily directed towards a specific demographic, namely Orthodox Jewish children in New York and New Jersey for summer camp attendance, the failure to disclose this creates a misleading narrative. He testified that the misleadingness in this context depends entirely upon a false assumption held by the recipient of the advertisement. Since the advertisement itself makes no specific claims beyond the request to donate your car, any deception must occur through the donor's uncorrected internal assumptions. To support his opinion, Dr. Motley conducted a survey to assess whether the plaintiff's assumptions about the charity were reasonable. However, the court identified a critical flaw in the execution of this research. The survey was administered exclusively to UC Davis students for extra credit. The court finds that a pool of college students does not accurately represent the typical car-donating demographic. I mean, they're right. Because the survey failed to sample the relevant segment of the population, the data derived from it lacked the necessary evidentiary foundation to support a broad finding of consumer deception. The court also considered the testimony of Miss Sarah Butler, who was retained to conduct a peer review of Dr. Motley's report and methodology. Ms. Butler's critique was comprehensive, identifying several foundational failures in Dr. Motley's exercise that, in her opinion, deviated away from established survey practices. Ms. Butler identified the following significant methodological defects. 1, the exercise failed to utilize proper test and control groups, rendering the results scientifically unreliable. 2, because the subjects, UC Davis students, were required to place their names on the surveys and submit them to a professor for extra credit, the results were likely tainted by a desire to provide correct or socially acceptable answers. True! 3, the questions were phrased exclusively in the negative and lacked an I don't know option, effectively forcing respondents toward a specific conclusion. Ms. Butler conducted her own survey of 156 individuals in California to determine what message, if any, consumers took away from the advertisement. Her findings included only 7.1, 11 out of 156 of respondents, believed the ad was about helping underprivileged children. Only 2.5%, 4 out of 156, mentioned the word Jewish. I have a question, right? I've heard this commercial for, like, pretty much my entire life. Every time I heard it, they talk about Cars for Kids, donate your car today. It is a reasonable assumption that you're donating your vehicle, and either the vehicle or the money from the sale of that vehicle is going to help the children, because it is a car for a kid, whether it be the physical car being given to the child or the money from the sale of the car being used to help these children in some way. That is the reasonable assumption. So, like, I have no idea how only 7.1% or 11 people believed that the ad was about helping underprivileged children. I mean, I guess maybe the word underprivileged is doing heavy lifting there, because it was just like, I just thought it was about helping kids in general. I didn't think about, like, their skin color. Based on these results, Ms. Butler opined that the advertisement does not communicate anything substantive about the charity's specific mission. She concluded that most consumers do not take away a message that the funds are for people in need, but rather that the ad is silent on its ultimate purpose. However, Ms. Butler also stated that her survey was not meant to test the ad itself, but to test why people make car donations. The court found that her survey was intended to answer a question separate and apart from the issue at hand in this trial. Her question was not relevant to these issues involved in this court. While both experts possess impressive CVs, the court finds that their expert opinions carry little weight, even though they do not contradict each other. Despite their differing approaches, both experts essentially arrived at the same factual observation. Both Dr. Motley's theory of omission and Ms. Butler's survey results support the finding that the advertisement says nothing about its specific purpose or the ultimate destination of the donated funds. Therefore, while the court assigns minimal weight to their scientific conclusions, it finds their testimony consistent in establishing that the advertisement lacks descriptive content regarding the charity's actual and relies on assumptions consumers make when they hear the jingle, which does not match where the proceeds of their donations go. Under Section 17,200, unfair competition is defined as any unlawful, unfair, or fraudulent business act or practice prohibiting any practices forbidden by law, be it civil or criminal, federal, state, or municipal, statutory, regulatory, or court-made. Unfair simply means any practice whose harm to the victim outweighs its benefits. Fraudulent, as used in the statute, does not refer to the common law tort of fraud, but only requires a showing that members of the public are likely to be deceived. The court finds that the plaintiff has standing and suffered an economic loss. While the plaintiff did not hold legal title to the vehicle, he held a possessory interest in it, and surrendering that interest to a charity under false pretenses constitutes lost property under the UCL. Actual reliance was established by his testimony that the ad prompted his call to the 877 number. I also want to remind people that the court said that the car was worth about $250. This guy unraveled a 30-year fraudulent Jewish campaign over $250. Bless this fucking man. That's insane. You too can make a difference, dear chatter. That neighbor was a real G. Someone buy that man a beer. The court finds that the First Amendment does not shield the defendant. While charities have free speech rights, the government may regulate misleading commercial speech. Fraudulent omissions and an inducement to donate property are not protected by free expression. 3, the evidence confirms the hidden facts are true. The vast majority of the funds, 60%, go to URA, which supports Orthodox Jewish programs in New York and New Jersey and in the Middle East for some reason. And there is no geographic nexus to California. The evidence also shows that children, especially needy or underprivileged children, are not the recipients of the proceeds of the donations. 4, a reasonable consumer is not required to be computer savvy. When a broadcast advertisement, be it radio to television, provides a phone number as the primary call to action, consumers act reasonably by calling that number rather than cross-referencing a website. I really wish that this was like the reasonable assumption for everything anymore. Because I genuinely hate seeing a product and I'm like, ooh, I would like to buy that. And then I have to do like half an hour's worth of research to find out if it's like some cheap Chinesium product or if it's an actual real thing made by real people that I would like to give money to. It's like, it's become such a fucking headache to just buy things nowadays. The invention of consumer psychology and advertising is a dire mark in human history, true and real. 5, the court finds the message that the charity helps needy children is not inherently vague. In the context of a charitable appeal, needy implies socioeconomic disadvantage. Using funds for gap year trips to Israel for 17 to 18-year-olds, or a $16.5 million real estate acquisition contradicts the needy child persona cultivated by the ad. This is basically just like Black Lives Matter, but for the Jews. The name Cars for Kids, the 8 to 10-year-old actors in the advertisement, and the repetitive jingle all serve to reinforce the belief that donations are used exclusively for the benefit of children. Under cross-examination, the COO, Estee Landau, I keep wanting to say Estee Lauder whenever I see that, admitted that the organization's primary purpose is to help Jewish kids and families throughout their lives. 8, matchmaking in adults, evidence established that the organization funds matchmaking services aimed at young adults and gap year programs for 17 and 18-year-olds. 9, the court finds that the failure to disclose that funds benefits adults and families and that this support is contingent upon a specific religious affiliation is a material omission. A reasonable consumer donating to a kid's charity would attach importance to the fact that their donation is actually supporting adult matchmaking and general family subsidies. Yes, that is fucked up. Violation of BPC 17,500 false advertising. The false advertising law prescribes not only advertising which is false, but also advertising which, although true, is either actually misleading or which has capacity, likelihood, or tendency to deceive or confuse the public. Hansen versus Newegg. I didn't know that that was a thing. 2018. The statute can also be violated through negligence as it applies to statements that, by the exercise of reasonable care, should be known to be untrue or misleading. The court finds that the defendant disseminated public statements concerning the disposal of property, specifically vehicle donations, that were misleading by omission. Under the statutory knew or should have known standard, the defendant is charged with the knowledge that California donors would reasonably assume that their contributions benefit a general class of children, including those within their own state. The court finds that the defendant's stated intent to make the advertisement memorable through extreme repetition, while simultaneously stripping it of all substantive facts, constitutes an actionable strategy of deception. You know what I also think is crazy? Because Binary Mind said that they've been doing this since, what, 1992, 93, 94, somewhere around there? They've been doing this for goddamn near 30 fucking years, all right? And this is the first time that they've been hit for a lawsuit for deception. 30 years of deception to fund Jewish lifestyles. And this is the first time they've had repercussions. That's insane. They maxed out their illusion to 100. Like, you almost have to be impressed with, like, that level of deception that it's been able to go 30 years before someone was like, hey, maybe this is only benefiting Jews, by the way, and some guy was petty enough to take it to court and win. That guy's amazing. A violation of BPC 17,200, unfair competition law. The defendant's conduct violates unfair competition law under the following 3 prongs. Because the defendant's advertising practices violate the false advertising law, these acts serve as the necessary predicate for finding of unlawful business practices under 17,200. A business practice is fraudulent under the UCL if it is likely to deceive a significant portion of the public. Colgan versus Leatherman Tool Group. I don't even know what that is. The court finds the Cars for Kids jingle creates a false sense of universal, secular, and local charity. The Cars for Kids name, when coupled with an advertisement that does not mention anything about its specific mission, as admitted by the COO, is likely to deceive the public. It improperly narrows the perceived beneficiary class to kids to elicit emotional and financial responses, while diverting funds to a much broader religious and familial social service network. The court finds the defendant's practice is unfair because the harm of soliciting donations through intentional omissions outweighs any purported utility. The public is misled into believing donations aid underprivileged children in California, when in fact the funds primarily support a separate organization benefiting specific families in New York, New Jersey, and abroad based on religious affiliation. The court finds that the defendant's failure to disclose that funds benefits adults and families, and that such support is contingent upon specific religious affiliation and geography, constitutes a material omission. The evidence established that a reasonable consumer would attach significant importance to the following facts when making a donation decision: whether the donation supports adult matchmaking and general family support rather than kids, and whether a donation solicited in California benefits children within that state; whether the funds are directed toward needy or underprivileged children as generally understood by the public; whether the donation supports those of a specific religious faith. The evidence demonstrates that these omissions are inherently deceptive. The practice of broadcasting this jingle repeatedly over 2 decades is fraudulent because, by the defendant's own admission, the advertisement says nothing, thereby allowing the public to rely on false assumptions created by the defendant's calculated silence. Consequently, the defendant is in violation of the unfair competition law and the false advertising law. Injunction and restitution. Ooh. Under section 17,203, any person who engages, has engaged, or proposes to engage in unfair competition may be enjoined in any court of competent jurisdiction. And BPC 17,535 allows courts to order businesses to restore money or properly acquired through false or misleading advertising. It is the key equitable remedy to reverse unfair, deceptive, or misleading acts alongside injunctive relief. Reading this first part makes me hopeful that the rest of this is going to be like, if anyone has donated, you must reimburse them if they request a reimbursement. That would be fucking crazy. That would be insane. Monetary damages are insufficient to remedy the harm caused by the defendant's advertising campaign for 3 reasons. 1, a charitable donation is an act of quiet enjoyment of one's altruism. When a donor is misled, the harm is the subversion of their intent. As the plaintiff testified, "That's not what I wanted. Money cannot undonate a car or restore the donor's belief that they were helping a local needy child." 2, the COO testified that the ad has run for decades and was only updated once to change the actors. Without an injunction, the defendant will continue to broadcast the same misleading jingle to 25% of its donors in California, creating a creating a multiplicity of judicial proceedings, because every new donor is equally deceived. 3, the feeling of being taken advantage of and the erosion of public trust in charitable solicitations are intangible injuries that a standard check for the value of a 2001 Volvo cannot repair. The court must weigh the harm to the plaintiff and the California public against the burden on Cars for Kids to change its ads. If the ads continue, thousands of California donors will continue to surrender property under the false impression that they are supporting local, secular, or underprivileged kids. This constitutes a massive ongoing transfer of assets based on a fraudulent omission. The defendant's burden is purely financial and administrative. The COO testified that they do their advertising in-house. They have the capacity to edit the ad immediately. Furthermore, with $199 million in set-aside assets, $34 million in liquid assets, and with 30% of their funds spent on advertising, the cost of producing a compliant 30-second ad is negligible. The interest of the state in preventing consumer fraud far outweighs the defendant's interest in maintaining a memorable but deceptive jingle. The public interest is served by transparency in the charity marketplace. When a charity generates millions annually through a jingle that conceals its primary religious and geographic focus, it creates an unfair playing field for local California charities that are honest about their missions. An injunction ensures the competition for charitable dollars is based on truth, not catchy, content-free, deceptive songs. The defendant is hereby permanently enjoined from broadcasting the Cars for Kid jingle or any variation thereof in the state of California unless said advertisement contains an express, audible disclosure of its religious affiliation and the geographic location of its primary beneficiaries and the age of the beneficiaries, specifying whether they aim for children or families or both. Any future advertisement must clearly and conspicuously specify the actual age range of the primary beneficiaries. The defendant may no longer use images of prepubescent children to solicit donations that support individuals who have reached the age of majority. This is really great, but it only applies in the state of California. So I think this needs to be like some sort of federal injunction on the company because like, yeah, rare Cali win for fucking sure. But it's also like they're going to run the same commercial in other states. Like they're not going to change it to the non-deceptive one that they might have to run in California. So is this actually why the commercial stopped? Thank God, that's funny. 233 million assets and a charity that's found to be acting fraudulently? Nah, man, liquidate them. The court rejects the defendant's argument that a website disclosure is sufficient. A consumer who is induced to call a phone number by a broadcast ad has been deceived the moment the call is placed. The court finds that the plaintiff suffered a qualifying economic injury when he surrendered his possessory interest in the 2001 Volvo XC. While the defendant argued that the lack of legal title precluded a claim, the court holds that the physical possession and the intent to repair the vehicle constituted a tangible asset with measurable value. The evidence presented at trial established that the 2001 Volvo XC, despite its non-working condition and the absence of a formal title in the plaintiff's name, possessed a fair market value of $250. Aspire to be as petty as this man. This is the goodness that pettiness can achieve. The plaintiff's decision to donate this asset was a direct result of the defendant's misleading jingle and the fraudulent omission of the charity's actual geographic and religious limitations. Had the defendant disclosed that the donation would benefit a religious organization in New York, New Jersey, and Israel rather than needy children in California, the plaintiff would not have surrendered the vehicle. It is hereby ordered that defendant Cars for Kids shall pay the plaintiff the sum of $250 as restitution for the value of the property acquired through the defendant's violations. Defendant is ordered to pay plaintiff $250 within 30 days. Defendant has 30 days to cease all non-compliant broadcasting in California. Costs are awarded to the plaintiff as the prevailing party. Also, as the prevailing party, plaintiff has the right to file a motion for reasonable attorney's fees pursuant to California Code of Civil Procedure 1021-5. So that's pretty fucking cool. That's pretty fucking cool. And I wonder, because they said this this thing up here, any person who's engaged, blah, 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 allows courts to order businesses to restore money or property acquired. I wonder if this opens them up to lawsuits from anyone who's donated a car to them under the assumption that it's going to be going to needy kids instead of funding camps and summer trips for Jews. Hey, did you have to look up every aspect of every charity? Can't even donate to Locks of Love because they sell hair and don't disclose how much they make from that aspect? Yup. It's real fucking fucked, man. Redoing the ad isn't a real punishment because they already have the optics of a charity. Yeah, which I'm glad that Axel Jack mentioned that there is going to be a federal class action. That is beautiful. If we go back here for a second, we were talking about oorah throughout that entire thing. And someone here named Squiggles, I love the name Squiggles. The most hilarious piece of Cars for Kids lore is that the Orthodox congregation that runs it has a mascot that's literally a giant bundle of cash with a face, and he went to an ultra-Orthodox area in Jerusalem and got jumped by like 50 Jews.
You serious?
I don't know. Five's got in the background. Can you watch your back?
The fucking giggling, dude. Fucking get him! Yap dollar. I genuinely don't even know what's going on anymore, man. What the fuck is even? Like, if you tried telling someone the story of an Orthodox Jewish charity deceiving people to send Jews on trips to Israel, having a mascot of a wad of cash, and that Orthodox Jewish mascot was wandering around Jerusalem and got attacked by a bunch of other Orthodox Jews, you would just sound like a crazy person. No one would believe you. This is real. The vid predates Yeah, this is 14 years ago, buddy. That's old as fuck. Look at how jovial the wad of cash looks. That's a pretty fire mascot. That's crazy, man. In a mandatory anti-racism class, Penn State told 1L law students they must acknowledge the reality of systemic racism and dismantle systems that radicalize, subordinate, and oppress. One student withdrew from the law school over the class, and we obtained the shocking audio. Yeah, systemic racism does exist, and anyone who's not white or Asian benefits from it. It's the wrong kind of discrimination. Anything but studying these days.
There wasn't an institutional message, and this is the first place I've ever taught where it is baked into the DNA. It is, and it is everywhere from the.
Is this a trans person? Is this another one of them autogynephiliac activists? Because, like, that sounds like a man. And it kind of looks like a cartoon rabbit, so, like, I'm not entirely sure here.
Round up that being a lawyer is not just about doing, a set of tools or skills. Being a lawyer is about recognizing and combating injustice. The REPL course, I think, is powerful precisely because you're starting it right away. It's not elective, it's not optional, because this is not one way to be a good lawyer, right? Paying attention to these things is what it means, one of the things it means to be a good lawyer. And, as someone, I'm a trans woman, right? And this year, there is a lot happening against people in my...
I like how I called that in, like, 2 seconds. That's, how are you gonna be some kind of a freaky trans activist and your last name of your choice is Spotswood? My job is going to become obsolete, not because of AI, but because reality is too ridiculous to make comedy out of.
Community, and having a focus from the outset on recognizing and combating oppression and injustice is meaningful to me in a way I cannot describe.
I want to say today that you all officially become part of this broader coalition and effort towards building a more anti-racist, equal, under the law approach.
Fun reminder for those of you who are just tuning in. Anti-racist does not mean not racist. Anti-racist means that you are, in fact, racist just towards the right people.
To our law and legal systems. This is the part of the coalition that I'm really excited about. We are taking action to disrupt and dismantle systems that racialize, subordinate, and oppress.
If this is what's going on at law school, it's no wonder why so many criminals keep being released. Like, you should not be taking any kind of immutable characteristics into consideration when it comes to the law. Like, it's insane that, like, skin color or gender or anything comes into play when someone commits a crime. Like, actually wild.
We, as part of our broader anti-racism commitments here, want to acknowledge the reality of systemic racism, subordination, and oppression. Acknowledging said...
When's the white people gonna get their reparations, brother? As,
As this exists, right? Racism, subordination, and oppression exists, and it has existed.
I need someone to take every instance of a white person being tortured or murdered and the person who did that to them being let off with barely any kind of sentencing. Throw in the fucking rape gangs from the UK, because there's basically been no repercussions for that either, for raping white women. So I need someone to like put all of those articles and shit underlaid on this speech, because I think that would really drive the point home that these people are fucking crazy.
We start with that as a foundation for this course as well.
The great thing about REPL is that when I talk about this idea of inclusivity, it doesn't matter how much experience you've already had with learning about systemic racism, whether you think, oh, I already know about this, like I don't need to pay attention. Well, you do, even if you've already learned, or if, you know.
It's like Bridge says, you know, you always have to do the work, and the work can get tiring sometimes, and that's why you need to figure out ways to fill up your cup, so that the work doesn't take its toll on you, because the work is very important, and it's never ending, but you can't let it defeat you.
You're in a position where you're white, and you don't have to worry about these things.
I'm so tired, chat.
You're like, oh, I don't need to pay attention. Well, you do too, but at the end of the day, you are in a unique position of power to be able to help people that, you know, you may not be part of a marginalized group. You may have the privilege to speak for folks that don't have that privilege to speak for themselves.
What? Yeah, we need more allies, right? Too long we've navigated without ushering in white men to our folds. We've denigrated them and made them feel othered, but we need the white men to actually finish our cultural transformation. We need you to sign on to your own suicide, buddy, man. Let's go.
The problem is, according to the movement, is white supremacy. The problem is patriarchy.
He said without an ounce of self-awareness.
And unless we abolish white supremacy, unless we eradicate patriarchy, we're still going to have problems.
You see, when people call you a white supremacist for not wanting to die, that's where the problem comes from. There's no supremacy in that statement. There's no, I think I'm better than someone else. That's not even in the conversation. So when someone who's indoctrinated or is one of the malicious liars pushing this commie gobbledygook, when they say we must get rid of white supremacy, it just sounds like we must get rid of white people.
Theory articulated by the movement for Black Lives. I think that our
Hold the fucking phone, brother!
Unless we eradicate patriarchy, we're still going to have problems. I'm most persuaded by the theory articulated by the movement for...
He's most inspired, or whatever the fuck, by the theory articulated by the movement for Black Lives. Black Lives Matter? You mean the movement founded by avowed Marxists who are open about their Marxist training? Who are open about wanting to usher in communism into America? Who defrauded people and bought large mansions? While people who supported Black Lives Matter, regardless of their skin color, burned down black businesses en masse? That Black Lives Matter, buddy? I don't know if that's what you want to align with.
Black lives. I think that our criminal legal system is not about keeping families and communities safe.
He's right about that part, but whatever he's about to say next is going to be very wrong.
About keeping black people in their place.
I would actually say it's about keeping white people in their place, considering white people get actual repercussions in the justice system more often than not, and then people who aren't white don't actually get repercussions for their criminal actions. Kind of sucks. Los Angeles mayoral hopeful Nithya Raman wants to ban backyard barbecues for residents during certain high fire danger days across the city. Raman introduced a motion Wednesday directing city officials to examine emergency restrictions on grilling during red flag warning days when high winds and dry conditions significantly increase wildfire danger across Los Angeles. Yeah, I don't really want to hear someone coming to my country from a country that just throws trash in rivers telling us we can't fucking barbecue. Get the fuck out. It's in LA, is anyone surprised? That is absolutely insane. She has to stop beach pooping first. They're coming for the grillers. You have to fight for your right to grill. Who will fight for their right to grill? They're literally trying to take your grills at this point. How much longer are you going to stay willfully ignorant? We must grill. We must grill. They are coming for your grill, quite literally, not even metaphorically anymore. The proposal specifically asks officials to consider possible limits on backyard barbecues, fire pits, and other open flames in residential neighborhoods during these high-risk weather events. Councilmember Monica Rodriguez, who represents much of the San Fernando Valley, stepped in and successfully blocked the proposal by introducing a separate motion that stripped Raman's barbecue ban. Based fucking Rodriguez, she said, no, you ain't taking my barbecue. The last thing Angelinos need is a ban on hosting a carne asada in their own backyard, Rodriguez told the California Post. She said the proposal felt completely disconnected from how families across Los Angeles actually live. A red flag warning was put in place from August 20th to 24th in 2025, when temps across LA soared to as high as 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We're not checking the weather for red flag conditions before planning a backyard barbecue, Rodriguez said. This is what families do. Birthday parties, carne asada, family gatherings, a lot of people barbecue. I like how it's called red flag as well, considering we know that red flag laws are typically for people coming in and taking your guns away from you. Now we have red flag warnings to take your grills away from you. Like, the insanity is literally never gonna stop, bro. I'm like, holy shit. You can go for a carne asada taco. It's not Tuesday. The same motion would have also had a major impact on restaurants that cook with open flames. Rodriguez said she started hearing concerns from restaurant owners when the motion was being passed around. You had restaurant owners calling it out, saying this is going to affect our business. Rodriguez argued City Hall should be focusing more attention on homeless encampment fires, which have been becoming a growing issue across Los Angeles. Yeah, I would agree with that one. The fucking homeless barrel fire, the people who don't care where they put the fire, that's gonna be a bigger problem than someone grilling in their own fucking home, bro. You love how the Mexican woman turned on the spot, right? She's like, hold up, what you saying about getting rid of grilling? You were hoping for a Latina bride so you could get your carne asada, but Trump shut down the border. She pointed to the Los Angeles Fire Department data showing crews responding to roughly 33,000 homeless-related fires last year alone. I know what she means when she says this, but reading that sentence just put an image in my mind of a giant bonfire with homeless people being thrown into it. Don't do that. Last sentence of this article saying, how about Miss Raman focus on enforcing against the encampments that are the majority source of our fires instead of singling out residential neighborhoods and folks having backyard barbecues, Rodriguez said. It's because these are people who get into positions of power in America because they hate Americans, American culture, and everything America stands for. And everything they propose to push into law is to dismantle everything that makes America great. That is exactly why, Miss Rodriguez, Miss Raman is focusing on banning grilling instead of doing something actually useful. Maine lumber mill fire explosion leaves at least one firefighter dead. What the fuck? A firefighter was killed and several others are in serious critical condition after a fire led to an explosion at a Maine lumber mill on Friday. The explosion at Robbins Lumber in Searsmont took place as firefighters worked to suppress the fire in a silo. First reported about 10:05 p.m., the fire marshal's office said. They didn't share the total number of firefighters who were injured. Two Maine hospitals had previously indicated they were expecting 11 patients. The fire was contained but still burning as of about 6:30 p.m., according to the fire marshal's office. At least 24 fire departments helped battle the blaze along with various state agencies and the ATF. A fire and explosion damaged the Maine lumber mill in what local officials have deemed a mass casualty incident Friday. Hospitals said that at least 11 people were hurt, and Governor Janet Mills and other officials urged the public to keep away from the area. The lumber was still burning in Searsmont 5 hours after the blaze was first reported at Robbins Lumber, a well-known mill in the Maine lumber industry, on Friday morning. Federal investigators were helping state and local agencies investigate. It was a dynamic and dangerous situation, said Mike Shawshuck, commissioner of the Maine Department of Public Safety. He confirmed for reporters that there were injuries but didn't have specifics. Waldo County officials had said that they are considering the fire and explosion a mass casualty event. They said at least 5 people were injured as of midday, but a full assessment was not complete. We have dumped all of the resources from the whole county over to that area, Waldo County 911 Director Mike Larrivee told the Associated Press. Maine Health Maine Medical Center in Portland said it was anticipating 10 patients from the incident being transferred there, while Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center was treating 1 patient who was in critical condition. All Robbins Lumber employees have been accounted for, according to Catherine Robbins Halstead, one of its owners. But she couldn't speak to whether any firefighters were hurt. Well, we know from the title, one unfortunately seems to have passed away. State Fire Marshal Sean Essler noted for reporters that Waldo County's fire departments are staffed by volunteers. But what I saw was a professional firefighting effort. He didn't share specifics on the number of injuries, saying, "We have some families we need to talk with." The Thorndike Family Department, which was at the building, said the firefighters and civilians were injured, though they didn't give specifics. Oh, that is fucking huge, dude. That is huge. Rep. Shelley Pingree wrote in a statement, "My heart is with the Searsmont community as officials respond to a mass casualty event at Robbins Lumber." She also urged locals to follow authorities' instructions and keep those impacted and the first responders in your thought. Senator Angus King, that's a cool fucking name, said he was tracking the incident at the mill, which he said he's visited frequently. "My heart goes out to Jim Robbins and his family, the workers, and the Searsmont community." A Robbins Lumber employee, purchasing manager Ben Hamill, told the Bangor Daily News the fire spread from a packed wood shaving storage area to a silo nearby, causing an explosion. The fire department in nearby Camden said it had a crew helping and that it anticipated committing staff to help for several days. "Our thoughts are with the injured, medical professionals providing care, and first responders working to control the situation." Jesus fucking Christ. Well, hopefully they can get it under control. That really fucking sucks that a firefighter who called to action to go and help that situation is now dead. Insane footage shows a gunman walking Memorial Drive in Cambridge, Massachusetts, firing on passing cars at random. State police trooper engaged him within seconds and shot him multiple times. Witnesses report 15 to 30 rounds fired. And I would like everyone to understand the gun that this man had is illegal in Massachusetts. And Massachusetts has, some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Like, Massachusetts basically hates fucking guns. Look at those socioeconomic factors, man. How horrifying. A suspect identified facing charges after 2 seriously injured in Cambridge shootout. The suspect is facing charges after a shootout with Massachusetts State Police troopers ending with 2 people seriously injured Monday afternoon. Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan said, "Just after 1 p.m. Monday, Cambridge police received a call from Boston police that someone was observed to be acting erratically and was in possession of a rifle and firing shots near Memorial Drive in Cambridge. The suspect was identified as Tyler Brown, 46, of Boston," Ryan confirmed. By the time state troopers responded to Memorial Drive, the incident had escalated to an active shooter situation, Ryan said. That individual was already traveling down the middle of Memorial Drive. Cars were stopped in traffic. He was in possession of the assault-style rifle that had been described, and he was actively firing in an erratic fashion at various vehicles on the road. According to Ryan, 2 men who were sitting in cars near the shooting were struck by gunfire and taken to a Boston hospital with life-threatening injuries. Flying overhead, Sky 5 saw 2 people being loaded into waiting ambulances by paramedics. A civilian and a Marine veteran, as well as an arriving state trooper, were able to subdue the suspect and struck Brown multiple times. Wow, that thing that leftists say never happens. It happened. A civilian and a Marine veteran helped the cops stop an actual shooter. He was treated on scene and later taken to a Boston hospital where he's being further treated and is in police custody. A rifle was seen on the grass between the road and the bike path, which runs beside the Charles River. "We know that the weapon had the capacity to strike people on the other side of that river," Ryan said. Around 50 to 60 rounds were fired in a short period of time. When troopers arrived, we discovered some individuals actually under their car having tried to seek a safe place. While I understand the logic, I feel like getting out of your vehicle instead of trying to just flatten yourself as much as possible inside of your vehicle might put you at greater risk. Like, especially if you're not carrying, which I would imagine, as this is in Massachusetts and in Boston, most of these people in traffic were not carrying. According to Ryan, there's no connection between the suspect and the victims who were struck in the shooting. Ryan confirmed that officials would address Brown's criminal history during an upcoming arraignment. Oh, he was known. Brown was on probation at the time of the shooting. Brown is facing several charges in connection with the incident, including 2 counts of armed assault with intent to murder, possession, and a variety of other charges as an investigation continues. In 2020, Brown was involved in a previous shootout with Boston police. Sources confirmed to News Center. He pled guilty in that case in 2021. I bet you anything that was a fucking white woman judge and she was like, oh, it's 2020. It's the year of George Floyd and you're just a socioeconomic disadvantaged black man who needs space to destroy. It's okay that you were in a shootout with Boston police. Good Lord. Who could have foreseen this? During Monday's press conference, Ryan noted that a bill failed to pass several times in the Massachusetts legislature, which aimed to punish a shooter who acted without regard for human life. Why would you need a bill for that? Isn't that already a crime? Why would you need an additional bill? I'm so confused. What the fuck even is Massachusetts anymore? What the hell? And it is also important to recognize that this risk that's created by firing of a gun where people in nearby is the subject of a bill that has been filed for the past 4 seasons to create an offense to punish a shooter who acts, as I would suggest to you, was the case today, without regard for the risk of serious bodily injury to another. Again, I ask, why would this be necessary? Why would this be necessary at all? That doesn't make any fucking sense. After Monday's events, Ryan said that the bill would be refiled. But who shoots intentionally or recklessly and hereby causes a substantial risk of serious bodily injury? That is a bill we filed for the last 4 seasons. It has not been passed. We will be refiling that bill again this session because that is the legislation we need to address this kind of situation. What does he mean? But who shoots intentionally or recklessly? Criminals! What do you mean? I don't understand Massachusetts politicians! Video from witness Yusef Adel, local Boston man, showed the moment when it appeared that officers took down the suspect. Armando Zona, who lives near the shooting scene, said he made eye contact with the gunman. I never thought that gunshots should be so loud, Zona said. I feel like we made contact. It was a split second. A stray bullet missed Zona by inches and shattered a balcony door in his home. Witness Lisa Schill... It's a funny name. Who was in a school van on the way to pick up kids at school, told News Center 5 that she heard multiple shots fired in quick succession. She left the van behind and ran away from the incident. I was running for my life, Schill said. Witness Shannon Young said dozens of cars were waiting in traffic when he saw a man with a rifle open fire. It was definitely semi-automatic. He was letting off too quick to be a single shot. That's what semi-auto means. What? No wonder that's a man named Shannon. He ain't no shit. That's crazy. Young said he ran after his vehicle was hit in the driver's side headlight. My car is shot. It won't start now. Joseph Menino Rodriguez, who saw the incident unfolding from his apartment on the 18th floor, described seeing the gunman firing into traffic. He shared cell phone video from the shooting and said he was on the phone with emergency dispatchers as the incident unfolded. Rodriguez said that while he was watching, the shooter just straight up gets into a gunfight with the cops. He said the gunman appeared to fall during the gunfight and then threw his gun. Once he throws the gun, my boy is just out here, just laying down. Now he has his hands up. Now he's done. Why would you call him my boy? Such strange parlance. A black Dodge Avenger, which had apparently crashed, was off to the side of the road against a tree and a large rock. The scene was located in front of an apartment building with ground floor retail at 808 Memorial Drive beside the Charles River. Investigators were also seen placing yellow evidence markers on the ground. Other cruisers and an ambulance were also seen at a nearby mobile station. Memorial Drive was closed in both directions at River Street because of the police activity. The roadway later reopened just after 10 p.m. Monday. Anyone living in the area of the shooting has been asked to turn over any related video to the Massachusetts State Police. Oh no, not my boy! Not my boy! A woman saved by Marine who helped stop the Cambridge shooter speaks out. Dozens of people and drivers were caught in the chaos as a gunman opened fire in the middle of Memorial Drive in Cambridge on Monday afternoon. We're hearing from a woman who says a former Marine saved her life, and she shared an emotional story. You can just imagine how terrifying this was for the drivers who were just going about their day driving down Memorial Drive as the shooting unfolded. Since cars were stopped on the roadway, we talked to one driver who said he got out of his car to try and figure out what was going on, only to see the gunman pointing the rifle right at him. So he ran back to his car and jumped down behind his dashboard. Another driver said there was no time to hesitate. He just got low and ran. It was a former Marine and Massachusetts State Police trooper who approached the shooter and eventually took him down in the chaos. One woman, Rachel Saveriano, told NBC 10 Boston she froze in her car not knowing what to do, when that Marine helped her escape. A man came, went around his car, pulled open my car door, and made like a barricade. He had a gun and he told me to run, and I ran, and then I just ran as fast as I could. She called that Marine a hero, thanking him for saving her life and many others. Governor Maura Healey shared a new statement Tuesday on the extraordinary courage and selflessness of the first responders in Monday's shooting, saying she spoke with both the civilian and state trooper to share her appreciation on Monday. She said she was grateful to the civilian who courageously stepped in to assist law enforcement during this terrifying incident, demonstrating extraordinary bravery in a moment of crisis, and called the trooper heroic for putting himself directly in harm's way. I spoke with him last night, thanked him, and told him that his actions reflected the very best of law enforcement and public service under extraordinarily dangerous circumstances. This is a particularly poignant reminder as we lay to rest this week Trooper Kevin Traynor, who lost his life while heading toward danger to keep people safe. Healy also thanked all the first responders from Cambridge who answered the call yesterday and worked together to protect the people of Cambridge during an incredibly dangerous and fast-moving situation. Anyways, guns are dangerous and they should be banned. Just ignore the fact that guns are how you defend against other people who get guns illegally. True and fucking real. Like, if anyone should have mentioned the gun, like was mentioned in the previous article and was mentioned in this article, Healy should have been saying that it was an armed Marine who leapt into the situation. Fuck you, Maura Healey, I want off the Massachusetts wild ride. Yep. All this for another judge to say you're free to go because you're just a socioeconomic factor. Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there, buddy. Don't worry about it. The man caught on video opening fire in the middle of a major Boston area road today has been identified as violent career criminal Tyler Brown. Who's shocked? Who's shocked that he has a lengthy rap sheet? Brown was supposed to be in prison for attempting to murder a cop, but a woke judge let him out early. These judges must go. Way too many innocent Americans lose their lives because of these judges refusing to protect the public from violent criminals. In 2020, this was the other shootout he got involved in with the Boston police. In 2020, Brown pled guilty to 8 charges, including armed assault with intent to murder, after he fired 13 rounds. He was supposed to serve at least a decade in prison, but the judge let him out after just 3 years. And now he's back trying to murder people. Start holding these judges accountable. We really need to enter into a system where judges will get charges if someone they let free early commits crime again. This is getting absolutely absurd. We do not have judges. We have women thinking they're in charge of a fucking daycare.
Well, Lisa and David, we're learning his name, and his name is Tyler Brown. He's a 46-year-old man from Boston who I-Team sources say was shot by a state trooper, and he's no stranger to law enforcement. In fact, in 2020, he was charged with attempting to kill Boston police officers. This is a photo of Tyler.
He looks like Yakub. Yakub has come back to take out his creations.
Brown from an officer safety bulletin that went out this morning in Boston. At about 12:30, Boston police officers attempted to do a well-being check at his home in Dorchester after his parole officer reported that he made suicidal statements. He was also allegedly seen on FaceTime with an assault rifle and said he would use it. The bulletin also mentioned his phone was pinging in Cambridge. Shortly after the bulletin went out, these videos of Brown were taken on Memorial Drive. He's seen walking down in the middle of the street, terrorizing drivers, waving and shooting a long gun. Witnesses say he shot at cars and in the air before I-Team sources say a state trooper shot him and he was taken into custody. And we're working to learn more about Brown's condition. As for the attempted murder charge, in 2021, he was sentenced to 5 to 6 years in state prison, followed by probation, and was ordered to undergo mental health evaluations and treatment. David, Lisa, really valuable.
See, all we really need to do to fix everything is execute the most violent 5% of criminals and say no to women. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Sally, no, you can't have leniency for the man who's murdered multiple people. No, that's bad. You need to keep him locked up. Let's get an execution on the table, okay, Sally? No, not parole. Don't let him out. Don't do that. Oh my God, it's all so fucking tiresome. Holy shit. But he's so nice. I don't know who Deputy Matt is. Matt Sylvie, Deputy Sheriff, retired. Oh, okay, so he former sheriff. He said, not sure how I'm only just now hearing this, but in case you had not heard it, the piece of shit dirtbag with the AR that went on a shooting rampage in Cambridge, Mass. the other day, he was stopped by an armed civilian who was joined by a cop, and they worked as a team and stopped the suspect. You know, all the stuff that the anti-gun crowd says never happens. True. In fact, this one incident is the perfect example of how every relevant Democrat policy is dead wrong. Democrat soft-on-crime policies put a multiple-time convicted felon and attempted cop killer back on the street in the blink of an eye. Massachusetts' strict gun laws, rated an A by Giffords, did absolutely nothing to prevent a convicted felon from getting a gun. That's actually a good point. This guy already had a criminal record for being in a shootout with police officers and attempting to murder a cop. He don't give a shit about your gun laws, bro. Your gun laws don't do shit. An armed private citizen actually engaged the suspect. When the cops arrived, despite what anti-gun Dems love to say, the cop was immediately able to tell the difference between the armed civilian and the armed shitbag. Wow, imagine that. A competent police officer? I'm surprised he's still employed by the Boston Police Department. The cops did not shoot the wrong person. The armed civilian did not shoot a bunch of random innocent people. The armed civilian and the cop worked together to end the situation, saving innocent lives. Guns save lives. Practice your ABCs. Always be carrying. Actually, I do not know why it took so long to come out. The MSM doesn't like it when armed civilians save the day. I mean, yeah. Agreed. It's like, I doubt if that woman hadn't said it in her story, that second article that we read probably wouldn't have mentioned the gun. Our gun laws help him kill us more effectively while reducing risk to his life. That's true. Gun laws help protect the criminals. I'm taking a chance on you. Here, judge sentenced eventual Cambridge rampage suspect. In 2021, a judge sentenced Tyler Brown to 5 to 6 years in prison. He'd pleaded guilty after opening fire at Boston police officers in a broad daylight shootout in the South End the year before, when he was on probation for an earlier stabbing. The sentence was half of what prosecutors had asked for, and an officer involved in the shootout, which didn't leave anyone hurt, testified that he believed Brown would eventually hurt someone again. Suffolk Superior Court Judge Janet Sanders acknowledged there was some risk involved in her decision. Mr. Brown, I do realize that I'm taking a chance on you, she said in a recording of the sentencing obtained by NBC 10 Boston Tuesday. When people stand up, experienced police officers and probation officers, and they tell me, this guy is a danger to the community, I hear that, and it gives me, you know, I can't look into a crystal ball and figure out what's going to happen once you get out, but I do understand that I'm taking a risk here. And I just pray that my intuitions are right and that you have the ability, the smarts, the will, the support to not go out there and endanger other people's lives as you have in the past. This woman, at the bare minimum, should have any kind of licensing needed to be a judge pulled. She should be disbarred. Like just completely disgraced. This should not be a judge. This is an individual who has no business being in any part of the justice system. If you do not have the ability to be hard on criminals that need to be hard on, you should not be there. You should not be in this situation. Stop treating criminals trying to kill people like fucking kindergartners. On Monday, with Brown again on probation, he allegedly opened fire at random on vehicles on Memorial Drive in Cambridge, critically injuring 2 drivers before being wounded himself in a shootout with an officer and Marine veteran. This one even acknowledges that it was a shootout with the Marine veteran. Ooh. The shooting has brought renewed scrutiny on Sanders' sentence for Brown in 2021, which at the time left then Suffolk County District Attorney Rachel Rollins disappointed. Current Middlesex County District Attorney Marian Ryan told NBC Boston Tuesday, there are some serious questions we need answers to. If those answers don't lead to this judge being disbarred in full disgrace, then your questions are worthless. It appears to be a rather generous and lenient sentence, NBC 10 Boston chief legal analyst Michael Coiney said. Clearly, he didn't deserve that opportunity, as yesterday's events show. I feel like if a person who ends up in a shootout with police officers ends up in your courtroom, they absolutely shouldn't be shown leniency in that case. Because, what were they doing to lead up to that shootout with police officers in the first place, right? I don't think this is another Waco situation that we have to worry about. Sanders, who is no longer on the bench and now works in mediation, didn't respond Tuesday to a request for comment through her new office. So you're telling me that she lets violent criminals go, and then it says no longer on the bench, so we don't even know if, like, she stepped down herself to do something else. Working in mediation checks out for how just brain damaged this woman is. The things that should happen, I cannot say. At the 2021 sentencing, an officer gave a victim impact statement saying Mr. Brown could care less if innocent people get hurt, as shown by his indiscriminate gunfire in Boston on a Saturday afternoon. I'm affirm that if Mr. Tyler Brown gets out, he will hurt or worse, kill someone because he has shown us how well he has done while out on probation for a stabbing. The officer continued. That's also another thing. He got into a shootout with cops while already on probation for stabbing someone, and this dumb bitch of a judge still said, well, this cuddly little critter deserves another chance. A probation officer detailed Brown's record and said he believed the man presented a danger to the community given his random acts of violence. Later, Sanders noted that it's very serious to open fire on a police officer, but there's a difference between shooting at a police officer and shooting a police officer, and the reality is that no one was injured. I really hate that the more I learn about women in positions of power making decisions, the more the people making jokes about repealing the 19th no longer seem like jokes. She addressed prosecutors' request for 10 to 12 years in prison, saying it would leave Brown without hope. Why should a man who stabs people and shoots at random out in public and shoots at police officers have hope? What fucking hope do you want him to have? Hope that he actually kills someone next time? You deranged fucking woman? What are we doing? Why are women allowed? It would be very hard for him to get out after that sentence and still have the hope necessary for change to occur, Sanders said. There's no change! He should have been executed! What are we doing? This was a man who was bound to kill someone given enough opportunity to do so. And this woman said, yes, he needs more opportunity to escalate from attempted murder to actual murder. Female judges missing the point of punishment again, and this is why children need a strong father figure. The mothers are incapable of actual punishment. She can experience his hope for him while she serves the sentence he should have gotten while he gets the chair. Yeah, I would like that scenario, but unfortunately we live in clown world. Brown is now facing charges including assault to murder with a firearm and assault and battery attempt with a firearm. Court documents filed in the Cambridge shooting case show that he was released from a psychiatric hospital on Friday, and before the shooting, called his parole officer to say he'd relapsed and was experiencing suicidal thoughts, later showing a large gun on a FaceTime call. Yeah, see, this is the setup, right? I don't think this guy's retarded. I think this guy was trying to set up, I'm going to kill someone and be able to plead insanity. Because that works every time. Oh no, he was too insane to know Moida was wrong. We need to put him back on the streets immediately. I am tired of psychiatric hospitals. I am tired of rehabilitation. Stop it. Get the fucking chair out, dude. He had been diagnosed with PTSD, depression, and anxiety, according to court records. It wasn't immediately clear if Brown had an attorney who could speak to the charges. Coiney, the legal expert, noted that recidivism, where a convicted criminal goes on to commit another crime, isn't uncommon. Thank you for stating the literal fucking obvious, brother. What? Massachusetts isn't real. It can't hurt me, bro. I need to... What the fuck? Boo-hoo, so sad, jail. Yeah, right? She talks like the fucker is the protagonist of the... She does. She's crazy. She's absolutely crazy. Who cares about the victims? This man needs hope.